Welcome back to Good Day Northern Michigan. The Iraq and Afghanistan wars have been the past 4 years now, but its lasting effects are still ever present in our veterans. Little did they know that what they were burning would likely give them cancer when they returned home.
Burn pits where chemicals, tires, plastics, medical equipment, and human waste were disposed of on military bases and were used in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now there's a law and a way to help veterans fight these toxic on-site toxic exposures, and an upcoming town hall here in Cadillac to help veterans become more aware of possible exposure and what options are out there. We want to welcome in Saginaw's Alina Elotz, VA Medical Center Director, Anthony Colon, to talk more about the upcoming town hall. Tony, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
So give us the, the background on the impetus for having this town hall in the first place. Why is this becoming such an important issue in recent years?
So in August of 2022, Congress and the President signed into law the Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxins Act. And we are still today, 2 years later, trying to educate and make sure that all the veterans who may have been exposed at any point in their military career are aware of what benefits they have coming and what resources we have to help treat them. And so based around that, we decided it was time to get back up north and sit down and meet with our veterans and talk to them face to face and provide them information and resources.
Now, Anthony, we have a lot of veterans in our communities up here in northern Michigan. How would they know if they were exposed, or is it the type of situation where they need to call to get that information?
So that's a great question. So some, like myself, I was in Iraq in 2005. I know I was exposed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
If you're standing right next to the pit, you know.
You know, right? But there are others, because of the expansion of the PACT Act, they are now looking at exposures that may have occurred stateside. Or exposures that may have occurred in countries supporting the efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they expanded the exposure requirements for the Vietnam veterans because they've identified additional things. So really the best way to do it is go through what we call a toxic exposure screening. It takes like 10 minutes. It can be done at any VA. And they'll ask a series of questions, and through that be able to determine if there was a strong possibility of exposure, and if so, then we start the process of going through a compensation and pen review and trying to determine what categories you might fall into.
Gotcha.
I'm curious, after the fact, whether or not you have exposure, or maybe you've had some diagnosis of a certain illness or a cancer. Is there a way to backtrack that and link those illnesses to your exposure? I mean, what is the VA and the government doing to try to connect the dots there?
Yeah, so that's the great thing about this, and I'm happy that Congress was moving forward on this, because with the Vietnam veterans, it took them over 30 years to start to recognize the exposures. They didn't take that amount of time with the Iraqi, Afghanistan veterans. They said, okay, we know we've got some challenges. So they've really, what we're doing is we're tying things together. They've identified a whole series of presumptive conditions.
Gotcha.
If you've got the condition, we're going to assume that you got it through your service. So that really helps move the process along as well. The list is way too long for me to try to go through.
Sure.
But again, going to the va.gov website, looking up the PACT Act, it will list all of those. And if it's something that a veteran has and they served within certain windows in certain locations, there's a better than average chance that may be why.
Now, it's fantastic that this work is being done to protect our veterans who served our country. But is part of this stopping these practices that causes these sicknesses in the first place? Because it seems that when our military personnel are already putting their lives at risk in hostile zones, they shouldn't have to worry about coming back and getting cancer because of non-combat related activities.
Yeah, I can't speak exactly to that, but I can rest assured that lessons are being learned from every deployment. I mean, we learned things from Vietnam, we've learned things from Iraq and Afghanistan, and those kind of things will be looked at moving forward and try to avoid putting our veterans.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, veterans do know that there's going to be some exposures. It's just part of the job.
Yeah.
So,
and we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Camp Lejeune is an example of that. It was years later that we discovered the problems there. So we'll continue to let the DOD figure that piece out, and then we will continue to really focus on taking care of our veterans today.
10-4.
Kind of a two-part question for you. What options are there now for treatment, or for whether it's financial benefit, or just, you know, what is out there for veterans once they determine that they've been exposed? But also, I'm curious, just how common is this where someone, even to this day, will say, wow, I've never thought about it, or I've never been tested. It seems like there are still people out there who this hasn't occurred to.
So yes, and first of all, there's a variety of healthcare options that we've got both through the VA system and through our community partners if we need to. The Benefits Administration handles all of the disability claims. So depending on what you're exposed to and how they rate you, then there could be some either monthly stipend that can come to you and your family. If you are the spouse of a veteran who passed away who might have been exposed, there are options for you to come forth and to help us determine if you should be getting some kind of stipend and some kind of support, even though your spouse may have passed on already. So those are all the other options. The interesting thing about the second part of your question is we have a lot of veterans who don't use the VA. Usually the number one reason they give me is that I've got great health insurance. I don't need the VA. I don't need the health care insurance. But what we're really encouraging folks is, A, if you think you may have been exposed, please come in, let us help get that documented. But B, get enrolled now, because you don't know if in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
You're still going to have that health care. Yeah.
Exactly. And something will pop up that you know, cancer doesn't always put up a red flag right away. It takes years, right? So if you're already enrolled, then boom, it moves much quicker that way. And it allows us to get you into the system.
Perfect.
Can I ask you too, real quickly, about some of those, you know, maybe retroactive cases, and just what people, again, you don't know what you don't know. I mean, is there what's the process like? Because again, Vietnam, we're talking the 1960s, early 70s, and the PACT Act is just within the last couple of years. Is this a time-consuming process, or how streamlined has it become in the last 2 years?
Well, it is much more streamlined than it was before, because part of the changes that Congress made was giving the Benefits Administration far more resources. It's now very automated, which means things go much quicker. Okay.
Perfect.
The other thing that I would encourage is if you want help with the process, go to your local veteran service organization, your DAV, your VFW, American Legion. They have folks that do this every single day. They know the paperwork, they know the requirements, they know what you need, they know how to help you get through the process, and it's less painful that way than it is to try and do it on your own and work through what's a typical government process.
Gotcha. Well, Anthony, in our last couple seconds together this morning, let's jump into logistics on the town hall.
Okay.
When, where, and how can people attend?
So it's in Cadillac tonight. It's at the American Legion Post 94, which is off of Mitchell Street. It's from 6 to 8. There is no requirement to pre-register. There is no requirement that you're even using the VA at this time. We just want all the veterans in the area to come in. We're going to spend some time talking about the PACT Act. We're going to spend some time talking about other resources. And then we're going to have a resource fair with tables set up, different organizations that are providing information to veterans that they might need and information to help them. And then we'll stay as long as we need to stay, and I'll be available to answer any questions that might come up outside of the normal realm of things.
Perfect.
And if you missed the Wednesday night event, check in with your local
Absolutely.
VA group or your local county Veterans Affairs.
Yes.
Try to get some help in the right direction.
And there is an VA outpatient clinic here in Cadillac, as well as Clare and in Traverse City. So there's plenty of places to go.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
it.
being
Yep.
here today.
Tony Colon with us here